Hello everyone, this is Aaron with Callisto Pro EMR, and in this video I'll be going over several new features that have been added recently. So the first change is that the address field is no longer required in the patient invite form and the online booking form. This change was made to speed up the process for patients to book an appointment and to clear any format discrepancies. And this field is still available for you to manually enter later on in the patient information section of their dashboard. The next feature we've added is regarding the duplication of encounter forms. So this way you can copy the things you've written from a patient's previous encounter form to the new one, which will save the provider a ton of time. So we're going to start by going to the dashboard and then the patient services section. We're going to assume that the patient has already received the same service before with an already filled out encounter form. And then we're going to also assume that the patient has been successfully booked for an appointment for the same service later on, meaning the same service line is there. So keep that in mind that this feature is only available for service lines of the same service name. And so now, for example, we have two instances of laser hair removal. This person got it done on May 28th, and now they're back on June 4th for the same exact service. So we look at the encounter list here. If we view it, you can see this is what I wrote down, and let's say I don't want to rewrite it again. So what we can do is we're going to go to the encounter form that we want to duplicate the information out of and click the clone button right here. And this is going to be a pop-up basically saying which service to clone this encounter into. And in the drop-down, you're going to see the past 5 instances of the same service for this patient, and you can differentiate them by the timestamp. And please keep in mind, you can also duplicate the encounter into the same service line as well by selecting the current service option. So in this case, we're going to select the June 4th one because that's the one we want to duplicate this into, and click clone. We're going to get a message here saying that it's been successful, and let's go back to patient services now. This is the one for the 4th. We see that now an encounter has been populated. Let's click that and click view encounter, and now you see everything is exactly the same there. And once it's been duplicated, you can always go back and then click edit to change anything that you need to, and you can also even replace the image here and mark it up as new. The next feature that we've added is regarding the post instruction for services. So let's go back to the patient services. Once you add a receive date, the post instructions will automatically get emailed to the patient, and you will see a message above saying that it's been successfully sent. So let's say they got this done on the 4th. That service taken date has been updated successfully, and then an email has been sent. And then in addition to that, you can still manually send the pre and post from these buttons over here. And then the next feature is the ability to add a provider signature on consent forms. So this is completely optional, and to do so, you just have to view a consent form that has already been signed. So for example, this Botox one with the consent form column, let's go to this list, and this one has not been signed yet, so all you do is click view, and when you scroll to the bottom, you're going to see this I have read and reviewed the consent form. You're going to check that off and then click add provider signature. Once you've done that, you're going to get this message, and then you're going to go back to the dashboard. Let's go back to services, and let's view that. So I believe this was this one. Notice that you now have a check mark here when before it was an X. And if you click view, you scroll to the bottom, you'll be able to see the provider name, signed by, and then the timestamp of that. And then the next feature we've added is the sticky note toggle here. So if we go back to the dashboard, we'll select Joseph Chen. So once a patient is selected, you will see this toggle under the sticky note option. If it's set to on, then every time you enter the patient's dashboard or when you're on the calendar, the sticky note for whichever patient is selected will pop up. So if I leave and go to today's appointment, the sticky note will appear because I'm technically trying to book an appointment. If I go to the dashboard, it's going to pop up again like that. And remember, this is completely optional and you can toggle it off at any time. The next feature we've added is the ability to add tips to invoices. So start by going to the invoice section. Let's click add an invoice. And let's add one like that. Calculate, and then click save. And now when you click the pay button, you'll see the additional option right here to add tip. And once you check this off, you can enter the amount and you can make this as an authorized payment or with cash, whichever payment type you want. And this option will also appear when sending an invoice via email and SMS. And then you can look at the breakdown when viewing the invoices to see the tip amount. And finally, our last feature is the addition of clinical KPIs. So let's go to administration and then KPI reports. So with clinical KPIs, this will allow you to specifically filter a list of patients and export them out. So we're going to be right here and we're going to go click clinical KPI at the end. And here we have a drop down of our first filter, and you can choose from receive services, non-receive services, and both. So if I click receive services, I can now filter my entire patient list for those who have received certain services according to a specific date range. So in this example, I can search for those who received Botox in the past last 30 days, right? I click search, I'll get this, and it'll say only one patient has been found. Click view breakdown, and then I can always export this out. And then if I add a second or additional services here, for example, laser hair removal, I'm going to get this other filter that will appear, basically saying the received service relationship type. So from here, it's either and or it's or. And so if I click and I click search again, it's going to give me all the patients that have received Botox and laser hair removal in the past 30 days. And then if I click or, then it's going to give me all the patients that have received Botox or laser hair removal in the past, whatever date range you have. So you can do that with received services, not received services, and received and not received services. So you can play around and you can mix and match and filter the patient list by that. And we believe this feature will be very useful and eventually be used in our CRM system to send marketing information out. And we're going to continue to make updates in this area, so stay tuned. And that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching.